Welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and in today's episode, I'm going to continue on with the topic of how fan subs are affecting the anime industry, whether or not it's increasing or decreasing, or helping or not helping the anime market as we know it. Okay, and in this particular segment, I'm going to refer to the era it's known as the bursting of the bubble or the crash of the anime market. Okay, so we're basically looking at the sort of the mid 2000s to the late 2000s, 2005 to maybe 2010, where we see a decline in the commercial success that we've had with anime. So basically, up to this point, um, the number of anime titles and the number of anime companies have increased. We've had these the increasing of these smaller anime companies in addition to things like Anime-Ego, A Division. Pioneer brought their own division of Genom. Uh, Viz Video has is an offshoot of their Kodansha titles as well. You got Media Blasters, Tokyo Pop. A big wealth of anime distributors all on the market. Okay. In addition to this, we've also had this time where on TV we've got anime. So we've been through the runs of like literally all of the Dragon Ball. They've continued on with Gundam Wing. We had Gundam Seed. I mean, those are like groundbreaking over here because we've never had anything like a Gundam. And even in the early days of when we had the anime club, those were always the things that we've been always kind of wishing for. It's like, wouldn't it be really really cool instead of having meet at these little small little club meetings? Wouldn't it be cool if we just they had anime on TV? We just turn on TV and there's Dragon Ball or there's Gundam or there's Sailor Moon, and that's what we had. We had all these great titles. Even one of the last ones that we had that was really good, that was really great, was Inuyasha, where we weren't actually that far behind the Japanese release at the time, and that was really a great time in anime. Okay, everyone refers to the heyday of anime, and it's all because all these U.S. commercial companies basically jumped onto this bandwagon, realizing that there is some money to be made with anime. Okay, distribution of anime, releasing an anime for English consumption. Okay. And a lot of the titles that they picked up, of course, weren't mainstream, and and the Japanese, companies uh, shall we say, corporations and even committees, shall we say, did not plan or did not make a budget for these videos to be released in North America or worldwide, because again, a lot of their thinking was, well, here we are, we're making this Japanese animation project, okay? And then in the previous episode, I used Double Hunter Yoko, okay? And so all their planning and their budgeting was based on just sales of things inside of Japan. They expected to make a certain amount of sales in VHS tapes, laser discs, maybe even DVDs, and then after that, they were and priced the way that they were priced. They had a contract for a video game. Okay, so we'll add that in, and then and then there's all the merchandise for like posters and that kind of stuff. So we'll add that in, and then all this together was going to make up enough money to pay for the project of making Double Yoko, and also maybe come up with a little bit of profit at the end. Okay, and so it wasn't a blockbuster title, but it was popular enough, and it probably came pretty close to it making its mark. But then all of a sudden, we got these guys from North America coming over and going, "Hey, we like this Double Hunter Yoko thing you got. We'll pay for the rights to release it on, in English and and in English dub. And here's a check with a lot of money on it, right? And a whole bunch of zeros after it. And all of a sudden, these Japanese people are kind of going, these crazy people are interested in this anime. It's not even in English, but they want it. So they're giving us money for it. And all of a sudden, this surprise of surprises comes up, and they come across this windfall of money. And with this, they continue to make some more animes, maybe some more sequels for Devil Hunter Yoko and other assorted animes. And this is happening all across the board. A lot of smaller companies were getting into this. A lot of these these committees are all of a sudden making money. They're all of a sudden reaching their quota, even though maybe several years passed. Even some titles that were already thought to be shelved, they're bringing them back out of the archives because all of a sudden the North Americans want it, and they all of a sudden are feeding this anime frenzy. Okay, but there had to be as I say, the bubble will break sometime. Whatever goes up must come down. So here comes that, shall we say, crash that we were referring to. Okay. What had happened? I mean, we had it really good. We had TV. We had anime on TV. We had anime in like Walmarts and Best Buys and Future Shops. A&A Records and sound. We had A&B Sound. We had them on the shelves of HMV. Suncast Video was doing like the gangbusters on this stuff. Rogers Video, Blockbuster Video, all were having anime. You can rent anime. I mean, we had it so good. What happened? Well, obviously we couldn't sustain this this anime boom, shall we say. We got to a point where so much anime was being released, it'd be like literally impossible for a regular, normal, everyday, average Joe to keep up with the anime. Okay, okay, not in this particular episode, but in another episode, when I go over my anime store, I'll bring in receipts of purchases of anime that I did. And it easily exceeded $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 each week to buy new videos. Can you imagine just a regular everyday person just working at like McDonald's or 7-Eleven, trying to to keep up with all the anime that's coming out? You couldn't do it. There's just so much stuff out there. People had to get picky. We were just oversaturated with anime. And it got to a point where, well, I mean, I'm not going to buy every single anime that's coming out. We'll just, watch what's on TV, because, a lot of us are getting that kind of anime off of TV and that kind of stuff. So we just watch that. We're not going to buy too much, anime DVDs and that kind of stuff. Okay, so what's happening is people are starting to change. Okay, this is they couldn't take all that was given. Okay. Even with all the popularity of anime increasing, as I said, we're getting at this era where we're actually having anime conventions, specifically anime based, not science fiction / anime or sci-fi, Star Trek / anime type of thing, or game / anime type of convention. No, this is just strictly anime conventions, and then you'd be maybe having some other things like games or video games inside the anime convention. Okay, so anime has definitely gotten popular. It has definitely still has a large audience, a large interest value. But what is happening on the commercial side? These people aren't buying the anime anymore. They're not paying for this anime. Why? It's because it's a change in basically the audience. Okay, so we're now switching from the era of the collectors, like I was, to this newer generation of what they would, well, I guess what we would refer to as the millennials, which aren't as which aren't the same kind of people like the previous generation of collectors. Okay, these millennials are not as, shall we say, tech savvy. Okay. As we were in the early collector's generation, because again, in order to get access to the anime, a lot of people had to be in technological fields to have access to the internet. Okay, so universities and that kind of stuff, the shall we say, nerdy group, or the the techie group, computer whizzes and that kind of stuff. Those are the people who primarily were the collectors in the beginning. Whereas now, more everyday average persons can be anime fans. Okay, and so that's the introduction of the millennial generation. Okay, now these people also weren't as shall we say, income disposed, so they don't readily pull their wallets to spend money on anime. They would rather spend money on other things, be it clothes or food or whatever they do, okay? But they're not spending it on the anime, okay? And so what's going to start happening is the anime starts slowing down. The industry starts slowing down. In general, video starts slowing down, okay? Not just with anime, but you will notice that all of a sudden in this era, things started closing down. Rogers Video no longer does rentals, and they started closing down. Blockbuster, 2008, 2009, 2010, they started scaling things back, and basically by the end of 2009, all the Blockbuster videos were closed because nobody's renting videos anymore. It got to the point where only near the end of the run, the only income that they were getting were things from video game rentals and video games. Virtually nobody else was renting videos, and that includes movies, motion pictures, as well as anime. Okay, so we're seeing a decrease in the market. Okay, the other thing that was is happening at this time is the speed of the internet was increasing, and also the transfers and the ability to transfer larger files, and including video, is now possible on the internet. So just like the craze with in the beginning of MP3 trading, so the whole Napster generation and that kind of stuff happened. A similar type of thing was happening to video, okay, in this new BitTorrent sharing thing. So basically now all these people are able to get access to movies and of course anime through the internet, and not have to go through this process of acquiring the media. They can digitally get the anime that they're looking for. So distribution was much easier, okay? There are some numbers that have been thrown out at several conventions and some various different sites that do modern day fansubbing. They comment that they're getting well over 600,000 downloads a week, okay? So almost 100,000 downloads of anime a day, okay? So we've got fans, okay? There's no mistake. We have lots of anime fans. Anime is probably as more recognizable and more popular worldwide than it probably ever was, okay? But these people aren't spending money on the anime. They're still consuming it, they're watching it, but they're not spending money on it, okay? And again, the internet is something to do with it. I'm sure fansubbing has a little bit something to do with it. I don't think it's the total cause of it, but it certainly isn't helping, okay? Okay, and as I commented, just with the increase of the internet, the technology in things like video compression techniques and that kind of stuff, faster processors, we've now gotten rid of, well, not really rid of, I mean, we've gotten out of this need to acquire the anime through physical media. Okay, so all the old templates, all the old ideas about making money on anime based on sales of, let's say, physical media things like DVDs, okay, are outdated. Okay, so when those people, those committees in Japan are going, well, yeah, we need to sell 10,000 DVDs and then we'll make our money back on this, Devil Hunter Yoko 7 thing, then, they're, probably going to miss their projections because they're not going to sell 10,000 DVD units, because a lot of the people in this new generation of anime fans are not going to consume the anime, or not going to try to acquire the anime on DVD, like the previous collectors. Now, to say as much, the Japanese have also pumped up some prices of things. You can see this with Gundam, for example. Some pieces of merchandise they've actually jacked up, realizing that, hey, the people who are going to want to buy this are still those collector type of generation people. So the people of my generation, or the people who are now, were younger, couldn't afford it, but now they're older and now they can afford it. They're salarymen or whatever, and now they can, they've got the money to buy that stuff that they couldn't buy before. But since now the company, for example, Bandai, is re-releasing new, Gundam kits or whatever, they can do that. So I mean, they did that with the original releases of the Gundam kits. Then they made, a perfect grade, a master grade, an HG grade. They just keep releasing better quality, better versions of the same mold of Gundam kits, with the intention that the previous generation, who didn't have the money back then to buy the regular grade, now can pay more money for the same kit in a more, shall we say, finer detail, better version of the same kit, essentially. So, these old, outdated models, again, probably are not helping the financial numbers either. So again, we're getting into the company's going to have to try to find different kinds of revenue streams to help pay for the for the animes. Okay, which basically gets down to my last sort of point is, well, what can we do to help, and why are certain types of animes survive better than others? And quite simply, it's not that the anime industry will continue to decline, so we'll have no anime. Of course, no. We will still have anime, all right. But what's going to happen is we are going to get back to, let's say, a pre-fan-subbing era of anime where only certain companies are going to release their type of anime, and all these independents and all these sort of offshoots and all these sort of maybe so the alternative titles, they probably won't get released into anime because they'll crunch the numbers through, and they'll kind of go, hey, we're not gonna be able to sell 10,000 DVDs of this thing. We're just not gonna make it, okay? And so therefore, they never bother putting the team together to make an anime of it, and it'll just go by the wayside. Who knows? It'll just never be made. Whereas big companies like Bandai and that kind of stuff, they will probably always continue making more new Gundams. Okay, so maybe it'll be different numbers, different things, obviously different themes and that kind of stuff. But they'll always have the backup of a lot of merchandising and a lot of previous Gundam fans and that kind of stuff to help them along in their to help them make their budget or whatever for making different Gundams. Now, that is the same reason why I don't think anime will just fade away, because there's always newer and merchandise-driven animes. For example, Pokemon and Beyblade, Transformers. Okay, these are all typical types of animes that basically people were complaining that the only reason why they had the anime is to release the toys, okay, to make more toys for them to release. So, I remember in the back in the day, Transformers was that big deal where, they were intentionally making new Autobots and Constructicons and all these other different variations of the same, named robots. Instead, for example, the Fire series as opposed to the Warrior series. They basically remake and reconstruct themselves into newer versions. But because they made themselves into a newer version, now you have to go out and buy the new version of the toy, right? So that's why Starscream, for example, will have multiple versions of Optimus Prime, has many different versions of him. Okay, and then that's when you get into like Beast Wars, where Optimus Prime is Optimus Primal. Okay, so you got to get another version of essentially the same guy, but in a beast transformer mode. And then of course when the Fire version came out, then of course, and when Optimus Prime became, quote, the Fire Engine, then you had to buy another version of it. Same thing with Pokemon, right? I mean, there is still the regular types of very normal and famous Pokemon that we all started from Generation 1. But of course, to keep making newer variations, you have to go to different parts of a different region to go collect all the Pokemon there, and of course you'll meet many new ones, have to catch new ones, battle new guys. Again, very merchandise driven. They are not just gonna expect to sell, 10,000 DVDs. No, they will also sell lots of plushies, video game. Obviously, is going to be a big part of that. They're also going to sell lots of Pokemon cards, of course, and all the other related merchandise with Pokemon. Okay, and that's how they're going to make their money back using that merchandise. Beyblade's another one. Okay, and I'm sure there's also a lot of other sort of examples which I'm missing, but that's their key, is they have other revenue streams to help make money for them. So they're just not just relying on the anime and selling a certain number of, let's say, for example, DVDs or Blu-rays. Okay. Now, what does that mean for the future? Well, it means that basically the companies are going to have to find these new revenue streams. I don't know what they're all going to be. Maybe it has to be some kind of app, maybe for a phone, or maybe it's some sort of online participation thing where it's based off of views or clicks or something, and the other part would be obviously some kind of interaction, maybe, I don't know, who knows, but something has to be done about the finding some new sort of ways that the company can make money, because as I said, that's how the anime will continue to thrive. Okay, one of the big issues that that happens with this technological change is that one of the penances of being a fansubber was that once the commercial company here in North America has decided to license a particular title, then the fansubber would be usually more than happy to pull the fansub distribution of the title off. Now, of course, with the internet, that's next to impossible to do. It's like kind of reminds me of several different things, like for example the episode of Space 1999 called V'ger, where they basically created this version of the Voyager probe, but they set it when they set it adrift in space, it was basically like a raging bull that you couldn't stop. You basically set something free with basically no possibility of actually stopping it. Okay, you've created a monster, as it were, that you couldn't stop. And unfortunately, a lot of these new digital fansubs that come out are exactly this way. Once the distribution has started, there really isn't any way that you yourself can stop all the different variations and all the versions and all the copies that continue being duplicated out there and being replicated and restarted and being regurgitated back out to the internet as needed. Okay, so control is definitely a big problem, and that's again part of that is something that does definitely hurt the commercial success of anime, at least in the North American side. Okay, but the overall summary that I like to place on this is that even though anime in this growing growth period and this boom period, anime probably has as many fans as it ever had globally, and it's growing. As I said, more and more people know what anime is. Anime being more and more accepted as a kind of a genre. But make no mistake, anime by itself cannot hold an entire genre. Okay, it's not that big. I mean, you can say, oh, we're more popular than the Star Trek franchise or the Star Wars franchise. Okay, you could argue that, oh yeah, we have just as many fans as they do, or maybe even more. Okay, but the difference is, anime doesn't have all the other types of merchandising and promotional backing and they're basically the commercial machine behind the anime right now. Okay, anime itself, the reality is, anime itself is still a small niche kind of market. Sure, more recognizable. Sure, has lots of fans, probably more fans than it ever had, but it still is a very tiny part of this entertainment market as we know it. So because it's only a small part, it's still very, very fragile. Okay, it's still very income dependent. They still need to make money to survive. They can't take large hits. They can't take large amounts of, let's say, piracy, for example. Losses that they cannot take huge lawsuits. For example, okay, because they just do not have the financial backing as some larger things like Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever. Okay, anime is still small enough and niche enough that it hasn't reached that kind of a plateau in shall we say staying power. But that doesn't mean that we don't have lots of fans. And don't mistake me, there are lots of anime fans out there, and not all anime fans these guys are part of the 600,000 that are downloading anime. There are definitely lots of legitimate collector types of anime fans out there. Okay, make no mistake. There are some sales of anime out there, but again, it is limited, and any little bit does help these commercial companies remain around so that they can continue putting out more anime. Okay. If you like to continue on with my next part, because I'm going to talk about what the future holds for the fan subbing and the state of anime that it has affected, that'll be in the next episode coming up. So again, please click like and click subscribe below, and then that way you'll be notified when that next episode comes up. Plus, I got a lot of episodes of some more CD music suggestions. So again, you want to click on the subscribe button there, and you'll get to have a look at those. Those are some pretty fun episodes. Okay. All right. So until next time, see you again.